Hey everybody, welcome to the Football Savant podcast. As always, I'm your host, Travis Tyler, here to discuss the latest news and happenings throughout the football world. And today's Thursday, October 20th, 2022. We're talking NFL season. And my guest today is Bob Brill, an award-winning journalist, author, filmmaker, fantasy football veteran, has been in radio for more than 5 decades and is currently a news anchor and reporter at the only all news radio station in Los Angeles and hosts the weekly podcast Kramer and Brill with former NFL quarterback Erik Kramer. He's also a Pittsburgh native and a diehard Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates fan, as you can tell by the colors and I believe by the background that's supposed to be a
Yeah,
Steelers. Right,
it
yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah. Um,
I'm in
welcome,
New England.
yeah, welcome to the show, Bob. Glad to have you.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate it, Travis. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, glad to have you on here. So before we get into the on the field
Yeah.
action, we haven't had a chance to cover this on my show yet. The Panthers were the first team to fire their coach this season after starting 1-4 under
Right.
rule. They're 1-5 now. Named Steve Wilks the interim head coach. He's got a little bit of coaching experience as a former head coach. Just what were your thoughts on that and where it all went wrong and
I don't think it went so wrong on Matt Rule's part as I mean the coach is to blame always at some point,
yeah.
but he faced a lot of injuries. I mean, many at the quarterback position. We're in week 7. They're on their 4th quarterback. I mean, they started with Baker Mayfield, then Sam Darnold, and Cam Newton came in. Now Jacob Eason. The last Eason I can remember playing in the NFL was Tony Eason, and that was in '86 against the Bears in the Super Bowl. But I mean, that's where you can't survive with so many injuries to that key position. And that's one of the biggest problems in the NFL. People go, fire the coach. Coaches have ideas that they implement. Players have to implement them. And when you are loaded with injuries, especially at either running back, wide receiver, those, you can, more easily fill in. But a franchise quarterback or even just a good starting quarterback, you can't survive when you got to play a new guy every week because they keep getting injured.
Yeah, and I think to that point, Carolina doesn't have a lot of stuff around their quarterbacks either. They got McCaffrey occasionally. I guess you had Robbie Anderson, and some people count DJ Moore, but that's not a lot to work with, especially
they only had one place to go, and that's McCaffrey. And he's been injured off and on the last few years too. He has not been that Christian McCaffrey they had the first couple of seasons.
Yeah, he's definitely hit that running back wall that a lot of people tend to hit these days. So which direction do they go in? What does it look like for them going forward?
I think they are probably one of the teams that you junk this season. I don't think they're going anywhere. I mean, it's a long season. They've added some playoff teams. We're playing more games. It's only week 7. We're not even at the halfway point, but they're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
they're definitely not going anywhere. And so I think this is a lost season for them. I think they probably need to just give a lot of young guys a chance to play, trying to find out where they're going, and and who's going to be the next head coach. I mean, because that's going to play a big part into what they're going to be doing in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're one of the teams that, they started so slowly. All you have left to do is figure out what you have on your roster and who sticks around.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's jump ahead. Well, I guess we're jumping back to the action on the field last week. Was there a team that impressed you more than?
Oh yeah, Buffalo.
Yeah,
I mean, Buffalo is the class of this league, and when they took on Kansas City last week and did what they did, they are solid everywhere. Plus, one of their early draft picks was Cook, and who is going to be a stud. And so that is going to fill in their future at running back. And Josh Allen is just he. It's hard to say and look at this guy and say he's got much more potential, but he does.
Yeah.
I mean, he could just be, again, you think of, the Brett Favre's when he was at his prime, and those types of guys. And I kind of liken him along those lines. I mean, he's a stud. He runs, he throws, and he doesn't seem to face that injury thing, and he takes on people.
Yeah.
Which is, you're always scared when your quarterback is taking on people, especially when you're taking on linebackers that are 300 pounds. But as long as he stays healthy, they are the class of the league, and that's always the big question with an NFL quarterback who's mobile like so many of them are today. But Buffalo by far and away.
Yeah, I agree. I thought, Josh Allen, to your point, has been one of the rising stars in the league, if not the star in the league. Should be MVP candidate, and he certainly played like it on Sunday. Absolutely. And Cook, I think, is going to help out that running game a lot more than it has over the past couple of years.
And, he's a fantasy dream.
Yeah.
I mean, he really is.
Does it all. Yeah.
You're going to get, and so many mobile I mean, you always say that Lamar Jackson is that player, but and Lamar Jackson's going to occasionally break off a 50, 60, 70-yard run. Josh Allen may do that, but really he's just that what we used to call stratomatic short gain, that 10 to 20-yard run.
So how about with the Thursday night football? It was a second straight bad week.
I'm glad you brought this up. We were talking about this. I was talking a couple of weeks ago with Erik, and it's like the NFL really took advantage of Prime and Amazon. I think really screwed Amazon, at least for this first year. We'll give you guys the crap game of the week. You've already paid for it. You paid billions. We got your money. We'll give you the crap game of the week because it's going to be a little bit more difficult to watch this game. And so I just think that I haven't looked ahead to the rest of the Thursday night schedule, but I bet if you look ahead to the Thursday night schedule, those games are all going to be stinkers or potential stinkers. I mean, though this week we've got what it's the Cardinals and the Saints, right? And the Saints are a team without a quarterback. Cardinals are a team with nothing but a quarterback. And so I mean, the most exciting thing about this game to me is watching Taysom Hill and what the heck he's going to do.
The Saints have all the receivers out right now too. And for Arizona, you got DeAndre Hopkins coming back. That's about the biggest headline for that.
And when it comes to DeAndre Hopkins, he's not the old DeAndre Hopkins.
No,
he's not going to be. He's still going to. To me, he's fallen into the class of Larry Fitzgerald now. And who was great at one time, who's been hanging on forever, and is still a good quality receiver. But he's not going to be, a wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2. He's more like a flex play.
Okay. Yeah. In terms of fantasy, absolutely.
Right.
He's still he has to be their number 1 receiver still.
Yeah.
And
I just don't think he is at this point.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, it could be wrong. It's the NFL. You're always wrong day to day,
So how about the Packers? They lost to the Jets last week. Is it time for them to start panicking that this might be a little bit of a lost season, or do they still have?
I think the Packers have gotten old quick.
Yeah,
I really do.
I agree with that.
I know. I was Erik and I went back and forth on this for a couple of weeks, and I'm off the Aaron Rodgers bandwagon totally. I mean, if you're playing fantasy, and I'll just slip this in, if you're playing fantasy, I would trade Aaron Rodgers, especially if I'm in a dynasty league, and I mean, he first of all, they don't have the pieces around him.
Right. It feels like there's some electricity missing.
Yeah. I mean, when Randall Cobb is your highlight for a couple of weeks ago, I guess, Randall Cobb was the highlight of the offense. That's saying something, and he should not be the highlight of your offense for a week, any week. So but I just think they've gotten old quick. I think they need to move on. Aaron Rodgers is not going to move on himself. That's not going to happen. I would seriously, look, if I was management there, I would seriously look at teams who need a starting quarterback who are that close to the Super Bowl. And as long as they're out of the conference, trade him and get a bunch of good draft picks and maybe a couple of young players, I think they could still do that.
Yeah.
Whether, he's going to allow it, what's in his contract, I'm not sure. But, I think he realistically wants out of Green Bay. Maybe he's staying there for ego. I mean, he's really into the Hollywood crowd now. He'd be a perfect fit in LA, and his life has changed quite a bit personally. And I think a change of scenery would do him good. And I definitely think it would be a big boost to Green Bay.
Yeah, I think, like I was saying, there's something missing with their offense. I'm not like Aaron Jones is probably the guy they need to turn to the most there, and with the way he's playing. But you're used to seeing them have dynamic receivers that are going to spread out the field and
Devontae
have all
Adams
these
is no longer there.
Exactly, and they didn't find a suitable replacement for him at the end, whether that was intentional or they're just whiffed on some guys.
Well, I thought Marcus Scanley was going to be a top guy there, and because I thought he had a lot of potential, but things change, and it's the NFL, so you never know where it's going to change.
Well, yeah, and he ended up in Kansas City too. So, yeah. He's not having a terrible year, but
well, they've got a lot of quality receivers over there. I mean, when they signed Juju Smith-Schuster, I mean, to me, that was all right. He's found a home. He's left Pittsburgh. He's not coming back to Pittsburgh. I think he will probably have, and he's starting to click now. I've been saying since the offseason since he made the decision to go there, that he is going to be, his career is just going to go up and up and up at this point, because playing with Patrick Mahomes and the other quality receivers, the other options, Kelsey and stuff, I just think he's headed for a great year. I really do.
I thought so too. I thought that was a really good fit for him when they're remaking that receiving core. How about, there was some report, or not really reports, but fans talking really about Cooper Rush and his 3-0, 4-0 start, whatever it was, and what to do when Dak comes back. Did that 3 interception performance against the Eagles kind of bring everybody back to reality, you think?
I don't know. He's played well. You don't. I think you're right. I think it was 4-0. You can't be strong every game. You just can't. You're going to have a bad game. You could play 16, 17 games, and out of that, you're going to have 2 or 3 bad games. And he's a young quarterback. He's was riding the wave, and he knows Dak is coming back, and he's going to be back on the bench. Jerry Jones is not going to not play Dak, and so I think he's played well. I still think he's a quality backup. I really do. I don't think that there's any real downside to him right now. And like I said, everybody has a bad game. That was his. Hopefully he doesn't have any more for the Cowboys' sake. And if Dak gets hurt again or has an off day and he comes in, he could be a spark.
And how much of that do you attribute to the Eagles defense? They're having a great
year so
far.
I mean, the Eagles are the class, I think, of the NFC right now, and that takes a lot to say that. Because there's some other teams up there like the Niners and a couple other teams, but we talk about the class of the AFC, and actually the NFL is Buffalo. I think the Eagles right now, they're not doing anything spectacular. They're just winning games.
They're
playing the NFL team game. They're winning, and I think that's where you have to look at that.
Yeah. Can the Giants do anything in that division? I mean, they've gotten off to that hot start.
I think so. I mean, like I said, it's a long season. There's a lot of playoff. They've added playoff teams and everything. I think Daniel Jones is playing well. Barkley is back. They have some quality wide receivers. I think they're in for a better than 500 season. I think New York is just, New York in general is really, I guess there's some things I could say here, but I'll clean it up that things are really going well in New York for fans.
The Pittsburgh attitude
are winning.
I think if you're a Giants fan and someone said that before the season, the way things were going into the season, you'd take that in a heartbeat.
It was. I mean, I could not pick a team or a player on that team. We did our preseason stuff that I would go after. I mean, Daniel Jones did not get drafted in a lot of fantasy rounds. And and definitely not as a starter. And you just didn't know about Barkley. How many years is he going to be? No, not the rookie Barkley that we saw. Now it seems he's back. He had a decent week this last week. I think he had 83 or 86 yards, which was down from a couple of weeks. But still, that's quality running back stuff these days.
Yeah, and I think for Jones, there were a lot of reluctance or unknowns about his receiving core and the guys he's throwing the ball to. About that Broncos offense, they're struggling. What's wrong with Russell Wilson? What do they need to get going over there?
Well, I don't think our expectations were too high for the team. I just think our expectations were too high for Russell Wilson. Going into this year, for the last 3 seasons, I've said, and I really believe this, that in Seattle, Russell Wilson was the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. In his early part of his career, you could count on him. And the last few seasons, he would not even look at DK Metcalf in the first half. I watched some games, and there were games last year where he went the entire first half and did not give a target to DK Metcalf. You have one of the best potential great wide receivers in the NFL, and the game where they played the Rams last year, and I think it was here, and Jalen Ramsey covers him. And granted, you don't get many completions to Jalen Ramsey, but you got to throw the ball to the guy.
Yeah.
You got to give him a chance. You got to give him the chance for the back shoulder catch. You got to be able. Jalen Ramsey's not going to be perfect every game, and you have to attack that. And Russell Wilson did not. And he's got a hammy problem right now. He was had an MRI yesterday, and they were saying it could be a substantial injury. He is practicing, from what I understand, as of today. I looked it up just before we went on the air.
Yeah, okay.
And so there is an injury there. Erik was, when we talk about quarterbacks, Erik is really, really super because he was one, and he's always talking about this guy's footwork. This guy can't see this. We were just talking yesterday about Wilson, and he was saying if you watch the last game, he was missing wide open guys. Okay. And I'm wondering if there isn't a vision problem with Wilson. Where I likened it to remember the movie Seabiscuit, where the jockey couldn't see out of his one eye. And I don't know if this is happening with Wilson. I'm just speculating here. He couldn't see out of his one eye, and he had won the race, but he hadn't crossed the finish line yet, and didn't see the other horse coming up on his left or right side, whichever one where he was blind. Yeah. And he started cheering like he'd won, and the horse passed him and beat him. Okay. And he's missing receivers. He's just there's something missing there. There's something not right. And I'm personally just wondering if it's a vision problem. But because I thought going to Denver, he was going to be the old Russell Wilson. I thought he was just going to explode on the scene. I was picking them as a definite playoff team with who they had around it. And now I'm looking, it's like this team's in disarray.
Yeah.
And when you're $200 million quarterback or whatever he is these days isn't hitting open receivers and he has time to do it, there's something wrong. Yeah. And I agree with you. There's something happening there that needs to be really taken a really good look at.
Yeah, and with that, if he does have that vision problem, do you think it's more like a height thing where he can't see over the offensive line, or
I don't know. That could be. I haven't looked at the height of his offensive line. I don't know. It might just be something just small. Whether it's not cataracts. What's the other thing where you put the drops in your eyes to because you're eventually going to get blurred vision? I can't think of it. I've got it. I can't think of what it is. I don't know. And maybe it's just. I think it might be just something physical. I don't know, but it seems that there's something there that shouldn't be there for an NFL quarterback 7 games into the NFL season.
Yeah. What about his old squad? What do you make of the start Seattle's off to, and what?
I like it. I mean, I think Geno Smith has found a home. He's been around forever, and he only may have a couple of good seasons, but he's playing like he's at the top of his game. I think that's good. He is seeing DK Metcalf. He is targeting DK Metcalf.
A
And
hard guy to miss, but
yeah, and you got Lockett there too, and he's targeting Lockett. They just came back with the running back after Rashard Penny, who got hurt. I think was it Jackson is the
Kenneth Walker. Is that who
Oh, Kenneth Walker, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
yeah.
Jackson with
He's a
is with
monster.
yeah, and we were saying that he's the guy to pick up this week. Last week going into week 6, and
I drafted him.
97 yards, a touchdown. You can't ask more than that for a rookie running back in his first start. So I think they've got it together. I think we talked before the season how the AFC West had 4 solid starting quarterbacks. They had 4 teams that all had a shot at a good shot at making the playoffs. And I think they, after a kind of a bizarre start, I think they're heading there in the right direction with a little luck. I mean, the Raiders are down, Colorado is down, Denver, and actually the Chargers are not playing that great. So Seattle could slip in there pretty easily and win that division, and at least maybe just make the playoffs as a sort of thinking of
wild card.
Wild card,
Yeah. I can see them being in the wild card, although they're in the NFC West and not the AFC West there.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. So.
I
just screwed that up, didn't I?
Yeah.
I
wasn't sure if I should call you out.
Yeah, no, that's me. I don't know what I'm thinking. It's like for some reason, I've always associated Seattle in the AFC, and I don't know why. It's in my head.
They used to be.
And it's like I've always kind of well, let's put it this way: the Niners are playing well, the Rams aren't. Those are the other, and Arizona's kind of up in there. Yeah. So you can still throw Seattle in there as a possible, maybe winning that division and maybe at least a wild card. I think San Francisco will probably win the division, but we'll see. I mean, it's a long season yet. So,
right. And now that we've been talking about the division, Cardinals are kind of off to a slower start. Should we be concerned about where they are right now?
I think they should be.
Okay.
They're not playing well. I mean, Ertz looks good. James Conner is a 0 this year.
Yeah.
I said that going into the season. I said he had a great year last year. What was it, 22 touchdowns combined or something like that? But I thought that he had something to prove last year, and he did. And this year, right I said, he's not going to be the same James Conner. And I like James Conner. I've liked him for years. He played with my Steelers. And I just don't think that he's the quality back that he was last year. He may have a couple of good games in him, but I think they're kind of in trouble, I think.
Yeah. I don't think they've been the same team. I think their offense, something like a lot of teams, there's something looks off with their offense, and they've never had a great defense.
Yeah.
And
they're just not. They're not together. They're just not.
Yeah,
they haven't put it all together. It's and going back to they were originally said the NFL is a team sport, and it's the ultimate team sport. And if they're not clicking on all cylinders, you don't see it. You see gaffes and misplays and things that just you can't have if you're going to move to that next level. And they're not that next level yet.
Yeah. All right, so we got about 8.5 minutes left here, so let's jump ahead to this week's coming up games. To me, the schedule's not great this week, but is there
it's really weird.
You're looking forward to?
Yeah. I think the best matchup is the Chiefs and Niners.
Okay.
I think that is the game of the week. Was that they're playing that Sunday? No, Steelers play Sunday night. Chiefs and Niners play an afternoon game in San Francisco. The weather should be good, and two teams that are two of the elite teams in the NFL this season, and actually the last couple of seasons. So, the 49ers really come on. 49ers, if they can just avoid the injuries, they're past that rookie quarterback experiment. Jimmy G is still the guy there and should be the rest of the season. the Bears and the Niners have rookie quarterbacks that just aren't cutting it. The Bears more than the Niners,
Yeah.
but I think, and the running back Jeff Wilson for the
Yeah.
Niners has
He's
proved
doing really well.
he's a number one running back. He's a stud, and they had a tough time last week running the ball, but I think they'll step it up this week, and I think they'll make establish the running game, and it's going to be a good game. I mean, it's hard to see Kansas City losing 2 in a row,
Yeah.
but they are playing another tough team. This is where the rubber meets the road for these teams. Fortunately, they're in different conferences.
Yeah.
So that won't hurt them. Like some teams, I mean, Pittsburgh has really had a real tough problem because their games they've lost have all been to AFC teams, and I think 2 have been in the division.
Yeah.
Cleveland and anyway, at least 1 have been in the division. So, and that hurts when you get down to that playoff picture in the last couple of weeks when you start looking at tiebreakers.
Mm-hmm.
You have to win those games in your division and also in your conference because the other games don't count nearly as much.
Right. So with your Steelers, is this week against Miami a must win for you?
Yeah. They're all must wins, I think, for the Steelers.
Yeah.
They're at a stretch. I remember in the offseason when the schedule came out, they had the toughest NFL schedule.
Okay.
They really did. I mean, first of all, their division is one of the top divisions.
Yeah, yes.
So they're playing Cleveland, Baltimore, and Cincinnati, Super Bowl team, twice each.
Yeah,
then
all
they had
playoff caliber teams.
Yeah, and you look at the rest of the schedule, and Miami, this looked like early in the season, this was going to be a real tough game. Miami's fallen off, and I think at this point, Tomlin has already said he's going to start Pickett if he clears the concussion protocol. And if he doesn't, it's Trubisky. Well, I'm not a Trubisky fan, and I don't think there are a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
He's just not, he doesn't know what a pocket is. When he does see a pocket, he moves it by running out of it. I mean, the safety of the pocket is where a quarterback wants to be normally. Yeah. Not Mitch Trubisky. Kenny Pickett stands in. He looks good. He looks like a veteran out there. And it's interesting because I'll give you a fantasy tip here. If Pickett starts, I would start George Pickens. Okay. They love each other. Yeah. If Trubisky starts, I would not start Pickens. I would start Chase Claypool. They love each other. It's just it's the way it's worked out. If you look at the numbers, it's going to heavily weigh Trubisky to Claypool and Pickett to Pickens. So it's just a little ad there. So, but yeah, I could talk Steelers all day. So you want to move on.
Yeah, we're running a little short on time. Otherwise, we could keep that going. But how about with Colts and Titans are always basically the 2 teams in competition for that division. They play each other this week. Who has the advantage and where is it this season?
I think this week it's the Colts. More balance, I think, because Taylor's supposed to return.
Okay.
Pittman is a beast. Yeah, and anytime I look at a USC wide receiver coming out, he's going to be one of my top picks. Okay. I mean, you look at the history of USC wide receivers, all the way back to Lynn Swann. I mean, the guy we were just talking about, Juju Smith-Schuster as well. I mean, these guys are great. But I think the Colts have more balance. They're not the elite team yet.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan is playing.
He's struggled a little bit this year.
Matt Ryan, and I think he's got some better pieces around him. But they have been playing parts, guys coming in and picking up the slack for the injured players. Even when Pittman was out, of course, when Taylor was out. But Taylor is supposed to return. I expect him to get most of the carries. I think the other guys will get some. And Pittman, I think, is just, going to go off. I just like, them. The Titans are coming off a bye week. So they'll be rested. Yeah. And when you look at the Titans, you just look at Derek
Henry.
Yeah. And I think that's where you stop after that.
Yeah.
They don't really have very much else. As Delaney Walker retired this week, not that
Yeah.
that means anything because he wasn't the number one tight end anymore. But there was just kind of a note. But yeah, I think that, and you look at New Orleans in that division. New Orleans is not playing well. I think we talked about that. They're playing tonight, Thursday, and Atlanta in that division. Yeah.
Well,
The fourth team. Atlanta's the fourth team in that division, right? I get those guys mixed up. So I mean, I really think the NFC South, you've got, like you mentioned, the two best teams, and I think they're the two best teams because there aren't any other good teams.
Yeah, yeah.
At the moment,
I think that's the way in both South divisions. I think everybody's, there's maybe a 2-team race.
Yeah,
if that. How about is there a game that you feel strongly that someone's going to win this week?
Boy, that's a tough one. I mean,
I know it's not a good week to be asking.
Yeah, no, it isn't, and there are so many games this week that it seems like everybody's bad.
Yeah. There's so many 3-3 teams.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, if you look at it, I mean, I'm just going to take a quick look. I think, to be honest with you, I'll tell you the game. I think it's a lock. Okay. Bengals over the Falcons.
Okay.
On Sunday morning. I think the Bengals are on the rise. It seems like Joe Burrows and Mixon and Chase and T. Higgins are all over that early season flatness. I don't know why a Super Bowl team comes out as flat as they did for 3 or 4 games, but the last week they put it together, and Atlanta sucks. Atlanta's playing like Atlanta. Yeah. So I think if I were somebody who was at Vegas and ready to put my chips on the table, that's the only game I would pick, and that would be the Bengals, who are 3-3 against the Falcons, who are 3-3.
Yeah.
They are playing in Cincinnati, so that's going to help, and it's a morning game, so it should be a decent a win for Cincinnati. I mean, that's what I pick.